God believe that African, like, they can't really get there. They can't win the World Cup. Like, we see that it is an impossible thing, and I think it's high time we just get out of that mentality. When you encourage your people, your players, and a lot of benefits is set in place for them, at the end of the day, you see that they'll perform better and well.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Africa 360 today. We're looking into the state of African soccer and asking that perennial question that we seem to be asking as Africans. Why are national teams always seemingly underperform at major competitions like the World Cup? Well, helping me to unpack this very difficult conversation and to take our discussion a little bit further, I'm joined by Mark Uma and Ike Opedike, as well as Anthony John Wayne, who are all well-renowned soccer analysts, pundits, and commentators. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Africa 360. Let me start with you, Mark. As I said in the introduction, it's a perennial question. Why do Africans seemingly underperform at World Cup tournaments? Or is this just a sad indictment that is not well placed on African teams?
Underperforming presupposes certain expectations. Mm-hmm. I would like to just look at this, start off with this immediate World Cup we've had. I think Africa's performance has appreciated compared to what we had in 2010. 2010 was a disaster. And Ghana just saved our face. But Nigeria, Ghana, and Algeria have really lifted their games. The Ghanaians, even though they have gone out in the group stage, they did not disgrace themselves. Neither did the Algerians. And I can tell you, after Algeria, there is no European who will play joking with Africans. But there is a big problem with Cameroon, and there is a problem with Ivory Coast.
But let's bring Anthony in here. I would argue, alternatively, that to say we should really be celebrating the fact that for the first time we've had two African teams in Nigeria and, of course, Algeria making it. Surely we should be asking for more.
I think that's pretty peculiar to the African situation. We celebrate mediocrity, but that's not something we should be doing, I think. Two countries, we just get into the last 16, we get booted out, we gotta get excited about that. I really don't think that's the way to go. Just a lot of pending problems in Africa. You can call it discipline, mental strength, managerial upheaval, team cohesion, just to name a few. But all of these things are really problems we have to single out and obviously solve going forward. Africa has got a rotten problem.
And it's so sad here, Ike, because earlier on, I think it was in the 1990s, Pele, the famous soccer icon, predicted that by the year 2000, an African team would raise, the World Cup. We seem far away from that.
Yeah, but if you know Pele very well, everybody knows you don't depend on Pele's predictions because he always guesses wrong. But Pele made that prediction based on everything being equal, based on the performance of the African teams in 1994 when Nigeria came and performed very well. So there was expectation that if Africa could, with Cameroon playing in 1990, getting to the quarterfinals, Nigeria playing very well in 1994, losing out to Italy, in the group stage. So everybody expected by 20,000, by the year 2000, 2010, that Africa would at least get to the finals, if not win the cup. But it hasn't happened. And, somehow it is surprising in some ways. And if you look at it in other ways, it's not surprising because Africa is very unpredictable when it comes to developments and stuff like that. So
is it the case that maybe we are expecting too much? Because if I look at the structural system under which teams qualify to play, of the 54 African teams, or 54 countries, only 48 countries qualify. And of those 48 in the qualification, only 5 make it to the actual World Cup. When you look at Europe, there are 13 teams that make it there. That means there is a structural imbalance here, Mark.
First and foremost, and this is why I want, despite us as Africa not going very far, looking at the bigger picture, I think Europe is overrepresented in the World Cup. There are 53 countries in UEFA, there are 54 in Africa. They have 13 automatic places, we only have 5. But then to clamor for more we must do well with what we have.
Why do we have to prove ourselves, Mark?
No.
Why do we have to prove ourselves when we have a continent of 54 countries that play really well? Why should Africa prove itself?
No, you see, it's not, the gist of my argument is that Africa, CONCACAF, which is Central and North America, and South America, have raised their hands up. Even if you look at the group stage, 13 European teams, only 6 come out. 6 South American teams, 5 come out. CONCACAF had 4, 3 come out. That means that Europe is overrepresented. And one of the things I want to really put forward when this competition is over is that I think CONCACAF, South America and Africa should be given 1 additional places, and those 3 places be taken from Europe. Europe is overrepresented.
And when we talk of overrepresentativity of Europe here, what we note, especially from a lot of our African teams, the big West African teams that we're talking about, especially in this World Cup, most of those players actually play in Europe and other major leagues. So what's the challenge here?
But what you have to look at is the quality. I mean, a lot of times we just want to be patriotic. But leave patriotism on the side and let's just look at it holistically as it is. Okay, if you look at a Nigerian team where a lot of our hopes rested on Mikel Obi, let's say, he's not even a regular at Chelsea. Okay, I mean, that's the guy who's supposed to lead the front. If you look at Cote d'Ivoire, bar Yaya Toure, there's really not that person who is the first or the second guy on the coach's list when he wants to make his 11. So I think, like you said before, I totally agree with you on over-expectation because the quality, it's really not there. You look at an Argentina team, everybody in that 11 starts a game wherever they play in their club.
Know more. ENCA.com